Hello, this is the coronavirus episode of the QI podcast. Get it off your chest. I am your host, DJ 10th Power.
And I'm your host, DJ Duce. This is episode 4. Bro, it has been a very, very long time since we've done a podcast.
Yes, it has, and we're going to have to get on the stick and stay on it. This virus thing has kind of thrown us, all around where we had to kind of figure out how we were going to do it. You're on location at your spot. I'm here in the Lion's Den, and we finally figured out how we were going to do this.
Yep, we finally made it happen. But I guess we start off where we left off. The last episode, like I said, the virus was just starting, and then it really just exploded. I mean, really play by play, week by week, if you would just break it all down.
So true. And there's so many stories within the story of the virus. Trump has finally laid out his plan of reopening the United States and getting restarting the economy. But this plan, and I've looked at the guidelines, is not really a new plan. It's just basically the same thing, but he's leaving it up to the governors or their own states to call their own shots, which is what they were already doing in the first place. What's your opinion?
I think that, the governors it should really be left up to the governors. I would say, first off, I'm skeptical of the numbers. I think you know that as well as I do. We don't have accurate numbers. We don't know. If we don't have accurate numbers, we don't know basically nothing about it. I mean, we can sit here and speculate and go back and forth.
Right.
But the numbers are incorrect. The numbers are incorrect. That's where I'm at with it.
Right. Another problem is, too, some people just don't want to find out if they're a carrier or, there's limited testing, first of all, inadequate testing on top of that. And then you have certain people that don't even want to know the truth of whether they're a carrier or if they even have it or not, which is not a good thing.
Right, yeah. Not having a test available definitely, makes it. I mean, you can't test what you need to test, and it's just retarded. And we're going into month 2 here, and we ain't got tests.
Well, really, it's not even month 2. If you go all the way back to November, when the U.S. was first getting the warnings and our president was ignoring them, then that would really be when April. This is month number 6. If they started getting the warnings back in November.
Right. I agree. No, November is when it started. And yeah, I agree. No, November. If we're starting from back in November, the whole way up to now, yeah, that's a fair assumption. I could say. I mean, everyone was blowing it off though at the point in November and December going into 2020. Like, was it going to be an Ebola or another H1N1 at that point?
Were they really blowing it off, or was it that our so-called leader just really didn't care about what was going on? They blamed the Democrats, saying that the Democrats were focused on the impeachment. Well, was it just the Democrats that was focused on the impeachment? Because you were getting the briefings, apparently who the World Health Organization was alerting to you what the problem was, and you were just flat out ignoring it. So, you blame who, and so now you don't want to fund who, but it's really your fault. But of course, you don't want to take blame for what is actually your responsibility as a leader, which he's notorious to do. When everything goes right, he wants all the accolades. When it goes wrong, somebody else has done it, and it's somebody else's fault. And we've discussed this before.
I mean, yeah, as far as like structure-wise, from him working our way down the ladder, the administration handling of the virus as a whole has been pathetic as a nation, just absolutely pathetic. I mean, what if we really had like I don't consider this a real pandemic. First off, I'm to that point where, in my eyes, this isn't considered a pandemic. Let alone, imagine if we had a Black Plague or another Spanish flu epidemic again. I'm talking about, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that caliber thing.
Okay.
Like.
You don't consider this that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Why not?
I can't hear you.
Why don't you consider this that on that kind of a level where you don't consider this a pandemic?
Well, you figure. I mean, you do simple math. You figure how many people are in the world. You got 4.5 billion people in the world, and we're like I said, and the numbers are skewed to begin with, so we don't even know what that's accurate. But let's say we take a number, someone reported. I don't even know the number to date. I think it was near 150,000 deaths in the world. It's not even 1%.
But let's just say your number is accurate or in the ballpark. 150,000 deaths in this short time of a span. That's what's significant. And the fact that we don't know the raw numbers. From what I understand, just yesterday, China reported their true numbers from the people that had died, and their numbers have increased 50% when they released their true actual numbers. So that should tell you something just in China alone.
Right. Well, and you know, and that adds fuel to the fire for conspiracies like 50%. That's hell of a gap, bro. I'm sorry.
It's a big gap, but we knew that we weren't getting the raw numbers from China, right? We knew
Right.
that there was we weren't getting the full truth from them, and now they're releasing it, which should be pretty much an eye opener. There are other countries like Taiwan, like Hawaii, who have handled the virus way better than we have. And granted, they have a smaller population, but they took action immediately, which means they got immediate results. Whereas the Trump administration dragged their ass, came up with excuses, and this is the result you get from that.
Right, yeah. Like I said, it was just poorly handled altogether. You know what I mean? From day one, like nothing has been done right. Everything has just been skewed to a point where everyone's tired of it at this point. I really believe everyone's sick of it.
I
I don't
certainly
think it's,
am.
huh?
I certainly am. I'm even sick of the topic. I'm sick of the whole conversation. But we must talk about it, and the stories within the story.
Right. And the thing is, it's not going away anytime soon.
Nope.
I don't believe.
No, I have to agree with you. Speaking of stories within the story, what about the protesters who Trump are saying to liberate Michigan, liberate Virginia, liberate these states? Like he rather than protest, which of course he's going after so-called Democratic states or where they have Democratic governors, and I don't understand. I understand the reason of the protest, but what I think is that it's irresponsible, because you want your businesses open doesn't mean you're going to get business. Because I think as a majority, Americans want to follow the rules, stay in and stay safe. What you're telling me by your protest is you're willing to put me at risk.
Basically, yeah.
So why would I trust your business at that point?
No, I agree. But I mean, even so, like, what is deemed an essential and a non-essential business? I mean,
That's a good question.
can anyone answer that for me? Because it varies from state to state. I mean, for example, in our state, in Pennsylvania, yeah, you're now a Pennsylvania resident. So in Pennsylvania, our liquor stores are closed, but down in Maryland, everything's still open. So it's really state to state.
Yeah, but also the liquor stores, you could do mail order. I just saw that article this morning. I think Pennsylvania liquor stores are now allowed to do mail order.
Oh, really?
But it's also controlled by the government, so that'll be interesting how it plays out.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I knew Wine and Spirits was doing an online site thing or something, but the site's never working. Like,
Typical government.
yeah, like get lucky, like come back. You know what I mean? Come back and find us open when we can, more or less. But what I don't get is why liquor stores are closed, but like a beer distributor, you can still get beer and wine.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
No, but I don't drink beer. But no, not for beer. Not for beer drinkers.
Right. I don't get how beer is deemed essential and liquor is non-essential.
I think that's a good question. I think that if let's see, that domestic violence has increased. So maybe if they keep people, because there's no sports, and I think that this is a time that families need to refocus their energies on not gaming. Like last weekend, I saw whole families going for walks. I saw whole families playing, volleyball, setting up a volleyball net, and bike riding and things. I think these are good things because it gets the kids out the house. We used to, when I was coming up in my time as a kid, we played street football, street baseball, go down to the courts, play basketball, play tennis. Kids don't get out and do nothing anymore these days. And
Right.
to see parents getting out with their kids, I think this is a great thing to me personally because it puts the focus back on the things where it needs to be. Families becoming one again. Now, unfortunately, you have the domestic violence thing happening, and I think that's where you have liquor stores maybe need to be open and maybe to get adults to relax a little bit. I saw one lady upset because she couldn't get to the dispensary to get her weed because she couldn't take her kids, so she needed to get that weed. I'm like, come on now, really?
Hey, man, that's medication. You need that medication.
Nobody told that lady to get up there and have them kids now. They didn't ask to be here, so blame yourself. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, so the essential and the non-essential, I don't think we'll ever understand at this point. Now, as far as like the social distancing, I mean, what's your take on that?
I agree with it, and I agree that people should be wearing masks and gloves until we could get a grip on this and understand this thing is going to happen in waves, and we're just still in the first wave. It's known fact that the second wave is way worse than the first wave. And that's why it irritates me when I see people out there protesting and not following the social distancing. You see story after story of people pleading to take this disease seriously, take this virus seriously. It's for real. And you hear the struggle of what some of these people have with breathing. Can you imagine not being able to breathe and knowing that you're not going to get a ventilator because of your leader wants to keep his stockpile, and you know that you're going to die?
Yeah, very scary.
I still have to go back to that New Jersey family where they lost 5 members, in the span of a week.
That's it's ill prepared.
If that doesn't give you a wake up call, I don't know what will. This thing is real. I wish it on nobody. And one of the guys that actually set up the protest, I forgot what state it was in. I want to say it was in Seattle. He ended up with the coronavirus. He set up a protest to not want social distancing and to open up businesses again, and then he ended up with the coronavirus.
Well, if you remember, it all started with the basketball player. Remember when we did our what episode was that? Was that episode 2?
I think that was 2.
Yeah, episode 2. I forget the basketball player off the top of my head. Remember that's where it all started at.
Wasn't he with Utah? I think it was. But I agree with you. I think when you play around with this thing, I think when you joke around with this thing, God has a funny way of waking you up and saying, I'm very serious about this. And next thing you know, dude had it. Same thing happened in this guy in Seattle. Again, I don't wish it on him, but you gotta be like, you know what? That's God speaking to us. You set up a protest, you're not taking this seriously, and then all of a sudden you have the virus.
Right. And now, like, as far as my take on social distancing, I don't think it's really effective, and I'll tell you why. You figure, like, someone like me, and I have an essential job that requires me that I can't be 6 feet apart from a coworker. So that right then and there creates an issue. So I'm being exposed and at risk while I'm at work. So you want me to social distance where I'm not at work, but screw me while I'm at work, more or less. I don't understand the concept of that.
I find it, companies, especially at the meat processing plants, they give people gloves, they give people masks, but they have them right next to each other. There's no social distancing in between them. And even at my job is essential. and we wear masks, we wear gloves, we have the lasers that check, scan everything as it comes in, and we also practice social distancing. We haven't had one sick person on our job yet. We wipe down everything 3 times a day in that building. We make sure to screen people that have to, different companies that have to come in and do work on our servers and things of that nature. We stay on top of it, and everybody, God bless it, so far has stayed healthy. We've had no issues.
Well, that's good. I mean, I took a
I think it
voluntary
works.
layoff.
I
So
think
I've been,
social
I,
di-
I've been
I
off
think
work.
I think social distancing works.
Well, you know me, bro. I've been practicing social distancing since like 2016. So, I was built for this. I mean, this ain't nothing new for me.
I hear you. I hear you.
And quite honestly, and the way Americans are, you know how we all are. We're a bunch of spoiled. So when something's taken away from us that we can't do now it's an issue. Before, when we had the freedom to go out and do whatever we wanted, guess what? We stayed in the house. We didn't do it. But now that we have to stay in the house and don't do oh, big problem. Big problem.
I couldn't agree with you more. This country is full of spoiled people. Not everybody, I believe, is in that way. What I would like to see is those protesters that don't take it this seriously get on the front line, volunteer in a hospital, help those people that are sick, help the hospital workers that have to clean everything and wipe everything down. Get on the front line and then come back and let us hear what your opinion is. And let's see. And I'm not saying that they think that this is a joke. I just don't think that they take it seriously enough. Where they think that, oh, well, let's just open businesses back and get back to regular. That was what the problem was in the first place, and that's why this thing spread so quickly. So what's it going to take for you to wake the hell up?
Right, I agree. I mean, as far as Pennsylvania right now, our numbers are declining, so it's working. It's only a matter of time.
I
It
agree.
really is.
And I think the more that you stay with it, the more that we at least try to help the second wave, or at least be able to control the second wave that much more, because we'll know what to do then. And we'll be able to handle the situation a whole lot better. God forbid that there's a second wave. I don't want to see businesses close again, because this affects people's lives. I get it. I understand why they want to open businesses. But let's get it right the first time so that we don't have to go through this again. And that there's a future for our kids. I think that's the thing that's not taken seriously. It's not just about us and what we want as grown people. Every one of us, most of us have children or grandchildren or younger people in our family, and nieces, nephews, or what have you. And we have to also think about them. Big time.
I agree. I mean, it's crazy. It definitely is crazy. Now with the masks, like starting as a Sunday, everyone's required in Pennsylvania to wear a mask when entering an essential business. Do you see that backfiring?
No.
And I say that, and I only say that because, for example, I posted a picture yesterday, joking around. So I put a ski mask on my face, bandana over my mouth, and I put glasses on over my eyes. Basically, you couldn't see who I was. And last night, in front of my house, around 1 o'clock in the morning, I noticed there was a bunch of people out front, and everyone had masks on, and it's getting to the point, you're not going to be able to tell who's who.
Right.
Like, if crime is being committed, you can't tell who's who.
That's a good point. I've been fortunate enough to have masks made for me, and one of my masks is actually a cartoon character with mean eyes, and so I was getting some weird looks when I wore this, which I found hilarious. Let me just be honest with you, the looks I was getting. And I think people were trying to figure out, did he buy that? No, it was made for me, and I'm not going to tell you by who, because everybody will be begging her for a mask, and she's already going through that. So leave me out of it.
Awesome. I didn't even get to see your mask.
Oh, I got to show you, bro. I have a picture of it in my phone. I definitely got to send it to you. It's 3 masks, and one of them is a beast. But I think that especially on public transportation, think of the bus driver that was killed because people were coming on onto the bus. Somebody coughed on him, and 5 days later, this man was dead in Detroit. So yeah, I think it's important that people wear masks. You saw the Baltimore cop that was walking through the projects and just coughing towards black people. Thank God somebody caught this on film. He thought this was funny, and now he's under investigation. Now, we don't know what kind of investigation that he's under, but supposedly he's under investigation, and hopefully he gets fired. Because to me, that was used as a weapon, and he should be charged with simple assault or something, aggravated assault. Hit him with it.
Yeah, there's definitely something mentally wrong with him.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't like his job, but if you don't like your job as a police officer, quit.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
I seen like a couple articles. They're saying that the virus is attacking the African American population. I know that the Surgeon General was on telling people stop smoking, don't drink. It's going to attack your immune system. Yada yada yada. Do you think that that is true? First of all, do you think that's true? And secondly, do you think that maybe that this is being used to stir up more racial things?
I don't think it's being used to start more racial things, because I also read an article yesterday where they were saying in this county or the city of York, it is hitting the population of Latinos as well, and that 70, I think the number was at 75% of the Latinos here in York. That's not good. But I think when you have areas like the projects, urban areas where people are closer together, then yeah, of course it's going to have the potential to spread even more amongst those people and quicker. And let's just be real. Some people don't have the best diets. Some people suffer from high blood pressure. Some people suffer from whatever. And these are the kind of people that a virus like this can attack rather easily.
Right, right. No, I think that this is the perfect time in life, if you haven't already, to build your immune system up. Especially if, like, you're one of the fortunate people like myself who is home and has been home for quite a period of time, and not being exposed or being outside around anything. Build your immune system up. Do research, get your vitamins in you. Care about your body.
I couldn't agree with you more, bro. And let this situation also allow you to look at life a lot more differently, and treat people with respect, because this thing is attacking whites, it's attacking blacks, it's attacking Latinos, Asians.
Right, the virus doesn't discriminate.
It's not discriminating, and we all bleed red. I don't care what you are. This is one of the things that really scares me. I'm not even going to lie. This thing scares me, because at 53 years old, and I'm in pretty good health. I just recently went through a stress test and had came out with flying colors. I'm in pretty decent health for a 53-year-old man. But what if it was to hit me? What are my chances?
Right, being at the age that you are, and even like you said, even someone like you who cares, you care about yourself, you take care of yourself. But imagine the next guy next to you, like same age, doesn't care about himself.
Exactly.
That's the kind of people it's really attacking. But to jump back, it makes you wonder if people already didn't have the virus. If you remember, bro, back January, I caught the flu.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, that could have been the virus. I think a lot of people might have got it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely right. That could have actually been the virus.
I'm really thinking it was. I think it's been around, and I think a lot more people had it and just didn't honestly know it. Like I said, I remember that flu I had. It lasted about a week, and it wasn't the worst I had, but it wasn't nothing to kid around.
Right.
And it held. If I remember, my fever held right around 101, 102. So I didn't have no trouble breathing, but I had the runny nose, the cough,
right.
The fever. So I'm guessing that was it.
Yeah, another thing too, getting back to, you brought up an interesting question with the racism factor. The Beastie Boys made a statement says stop the racist hate towards Asians. And I found it to be an interesting statement. I know that they were speaking to people in the U.S. Saying that, Asians were being attacked. And I'm definitely not for anything like that. But I would have appreciated if the BC Boys would have also made a statement. And I've sent you some articles on this, on the attacks that African Americans and Black Africans are facing in China, because they're being discriminated against in China as if they brought the disease to the Asian people, and they're being evicted out of their homes. They are not being served food at restaurants. They're totally being shut off from Asian people. And I've seen videos where I've just absolutely been disgusted of how Asian people are talking about my people.
Wow. I mean, and I read up on the articles you sent me, but I dug a little further. That's been good. That's been honestly been going on for a long time.
Yeah,
the whole
I got
racism
that
thing in
feeling.
China.
Yeah, I got that feeling for sure.
Yeah, that's been going on for quite some time, and it's being rough in the time frame that we're in now, being out of your country as it is. Like, I wouldn't want to be. I mean, the scary thing of being locked out of your country. I don't, and people probably ain't getting back in, and who knows when people will be flying. Who knows when everything will open back up. So, quite scary.
Getting back to how the government has been handling this whole situation, Trump's administration, have you been reading on South Dakota's governor and how she resisted telling people to stay at home, in fact telling people to police themselves, and now she has one of the nation's largest corona hotspots?
Yes. Oh my! I mean, now it's funny to me that, speaking of hotspots, and I don't mean to jump around here, but we're just jumping around anyway.
Yeah, getting it off.
Not a normal episode, not a normal circumstance at any point. But,
exactly.
So how do we go from Washington State, if you remember in the U.S., I think that's where it originated from, if I'm not mistaken, right? Wasn't it Washington State?
I think you're right. I think it was either Washington State or Seattle, somewhere in that area.
Right, so on the West Coast, right?
Right.
So how do we go from West Coast to East Coast within a matter of 2 weeks?
I think people travel. Think about the Utah player. I think he was played for Utah who actually caught the coronavirus. Wasn't that against the Brooklyn Nets, I think? And they had to quarantine both teams?
Yes. Yeah, I know it was the Utah Jazz. I think the Nets was the other one, yeah.
So that could have very well been it. I don't know. But you couple that with anybody traveling at that time and people not knowing. So
yeah,
that's how it spreads. Just
like on a
that.
Typical day, you figure like millions of people were through the airport. So
yeah.
I get the flow. Yeah, definitely the flow of traffic. Definitely.
Do you think? And of course, Trump is already 180 from this, but his claim of total authority over all states, over everybody, him claiming that he has absolute power. The federal government has absolute power, total authority over anybody to call the shots. And even though the Constitution, this idiot president didn't realize the Constitution says the exact reverse. Maybe he should just read the Constitution. Do you think?
And not even that. A lot of people, not even, I guess him, he don't know the Constitution, and a lot of Americans don't know the Constitution.
All he knows is Amendment 2 for guns. That somebody asked him about. Oh God, I forgot what the question was. But somehow he brought up. Yeah, they asked him. In a time when we should be unifying the country, you're asking people to protest in certain states. Is that the message you really want to get out? with this virus happening, and instead of saying, well, about the virus, he starts to talk about Virginia and how Virginia changed their gun laws. What does that have to do with the virus?
Right. I don't get that. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Forgive me. We got the dumbest president ever. And people elected the dumbest president ever. You elected an amateur to the wrong position. You can have an amateur in sports. You can't have an amateur run your country.
And speaking of that, like with the whole, the election, like, do you think there's going to be an election? I don't.
I absolutely positively believe that there's going to be an election, and I read somewhere
if there is, it's going to be rigged.
That Kamala Harris has a plan to actually save the election.
This election's going to be sabotaged.
But if you really think about this, what Wisconsin did, what Kentucky has done, what Texas tried to do, is change the laws to make it harder for people of color and people in urban areas to vote by putting in new voter ID laws. And then one state, I'm trying to think what state it was, had 188 places where you could go vote. They've whittled it down to 5. Do you not think that that's going to affect people? People
Absolutely.
of age, people of color? Republicans have to cheat to win the election. They got to cheat. And if you're a Republican, I'm sorry, but the truth is the truth. States like North Carolina, Kentucky, Wisconsin force people to go out and vote in a Democratic primary to have these people standing out while it's snowing, while it's sleeting, while it's raining, and then they got to keep social distancing. I'm told that this line stretched forever.
It was horrible, bro.
Because people still got out there to vote. But why put people through that? The governor tried to make it where they postponed it, but he was overridden.
Yeah, that should have never happened. Should have never happened. But I mean, even moving forward, how is voting going to take place? I mean, I heard what they're going to try to we can do it like through the mail or something.
That's what I'm hearing. Almost like the absentee voting is how they're going to do it. Whether it be through the mail and early balloting, this kind of thing. That's what I'm reading.
I don't know. I think that's going to be the next story. We're like on a story timeline right now. If you haven't been watching, so we're in the coronavirus phase right now, and then we're going to get past that and go to the election phase.
Yeah, I mean, this story is not going to go anywhere. That's for sure. This story is not going to go anywhere. We're going to be talking about this for a minute. But let's change subjects for a quick second, because there's some other topics I want to get to. The NASCAR driver who used the N-word.
Yes, on the virtual racing thing.
And did not know that his mic was high. Now...
gotcha. Fired.
Yeah. I mean, they did the right thing eventually. They eventually fired him. But, NASCAR, the board... said the slur was racist but not insensitive. Really?
Do you think NASCAR is racist?
I don't know them to say that they're racist, but I have when it's kind of like football or soccer abroad, right? You have black players of colors that play, and they get plagued by audiences saying racist stuff. To me, NASCAR is no different. To me, golf is no different. Did they finally embrace Tiger Woods? Absolutely. You don't think that there were some people in that audience that were saying, we don't want this N-word to take over this game? You don't think that there were some people that was happy when he got caught for having those multiple affairs? There was absolutely people out there that wanted to see this man fall. Absolutely, because he's black.
I don't know. I don't like I said. I think NASCAR is racist. I don't know many African American people that watch NASCAR. Should I say
certainly
that?
don't. But God bless Lewis Hamilton for kicking everybody.
Yeah, but that just goes. Honestly, that goes to show you the racism thing. It's in everything.
Yeah.
It's in every sport. It's so polluted, and it's just everywhere.
Isn't
The virtual thing's cool though. I will say that.
Isn't that unfortunate though? We're talking about something that's supposed to bring people together, and instead you have this issue where they have to make it just as negative as they possibly can by bringing race into it. The two things that are supposed to bring people together is music and sports, right?
Right.
And yet,
and like I said, the coronavirus it's affecting everything. It's just not sports, music, everyday life, everything life. My favorite Chinese spot isn't open, and I hadn't had a haircut in God knows how long. Like,
man, just join my club. Mach 3, soap and water, shave it.
man, I told you, you got a smooth selling right now. You're set. You were ready for this shit.
Russian jet flies within 25 feet of U.S. spy plane. How many times have we heard Russia really trying to test us, whether it be by sea or by air?
That's all we need at this point is to go to war with anyone. Russia would be the one too that we would go to war with. It's either Russia or China because of all the. I feel some tension building with China too.
If we I don't think we can handle another war. I'm just be honest.
No.
Trump says that he's got all this equipment and we have the best military. And look, I'm not saying that we don't have the best military, but do we have the personnel? People are already burnt out from Afghanistan. And we're not giving those soldiers that come home the proper help that they need. And every one of them is coming home with PTSD. You better believe that they're suffering. You better believe that they're hurting. And this country hasn't. They're treating these veterans like they're treating this coronavirus. They're shitting on their soldiers. On them.
Yep. And that's so sad. It just goes to show you how weak and pathetic the country is. Come on, these are people that fall. These are people that need at a time that we're needed to step up. As a country, we failed, and it's so
absolutely,
sad.
Absolutely. We failed them, and the Veterans Administration continually fails. That's the thing. When are we going to put somebody in there that knows what they're doing and can actually do something for these soldiers? But you have a whole administration of amateurs. Just the other day, Ivanka and Jared took flight when they wasn't supposed to take flight. Went to one of Trump's golf courses to stay when they wasn't supposed to be flying. They just broke a whole bunch of rules and laws that are already in place, and they just did it because they could. What kind of example does that set?
No, I agree.
This is the same idiot that's supposed to be bringing peace to the Middle East because he had the master plan, right? Yet there's no peace. Now he's supposed to be leading a coronavirus team, and yet, what has he done? I'll give Pence some dap. Pence has done something, or has at least tried to do something, but he's just a yes man and an answer anyway, so he's only going to get so far. Because Trump wants all the headlines, so any good thing that Pence is going to do, Trump is going to want the credit for anyway.
Pretty much. Like I said, what a shabacle we're in. I sit here now that like I said, I have all the time in the world and just think about it day in and day out, oh my God. And like you said, I think this is the time people need to realize, you need to focus on yourself more importantly and your family. This is that time, and people are just letting it go by. They're blowing it, and I just think that's stupid.
What do you think about that the police in certain states have set up checkpoints targeting out-of-state residents? So basically, if I was to still have my home in Maryland and I was coming into Pennsylvania and they had a checkpoint right there at the border, they can turn me around. And they're doing that in some states.
I'm for free movement. Regardless, I don't see an issue with it. I don't see an issue with it. To be quite honest with you, you should be allowed to move freely.
They're stopping people who actually want to travel to their vacation home. People are going to their vacation home to want to deal with the virus, and they're stopping them and making them turn around, even though the people have proof that they own the home.
Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Like, I know you've seen the story when the virus first broke out here locally of a woman, I think it was in Redline, who got pulled over and the cop gave her a ticket because she was out past the curfew or something.
She wasn't doing any essential traveling. She was just
Right.
in a car going for a ride.
Right. I mean, she's retarded to begin with. She just never admitted it. I mean, but how can you prove, this brings me to this, how can you prove where one's traveling? Because you're allowed to travel for essential things, like go to the grocery store and all that. So how do you know when people are out what they're traveling for?
That's a good question. And I think they're just hoping that people are being honest. I mean, my job gave me something to show the police in case they pull me over, showing that I'm an essential employee, what I do, and who I do it for. And, you can always say, look, I'm on my way to the grocery store. How can they say that you're not?
Right. Right. I mean, there's no way really to prove. And that's why I said I think we should be allowed to move around freely. No one's spreading the virus in the car. Someone wants to get in a car and go for a Sunday drive.
Yeah, I mean, people have to get some air. And so I do agree. That's why I do like seeing whole families walking together, a father and son walking together, a mother and daughter walking together, somebody walking their dog or whatever animal that they have. I'm all for that. I understand people have to get out. But keep the social distancing. I think that's important. I don't think you necessarily have to wear a mask if you're out there just walking your dog or walking as a family. But if you know that you're going to come in contact with people who may be walking or walking their dog as well, it wouldn't hurt that you have your mask on. So just be respectful of, I was wearing my mask before it became mandatory, and I was getting weird looks. But it was for my protection as well as your protection. People were still getting offended by that. Why would you get offended by me caring enough about you and myself?
Well, that brings me back to what I said earlier about the stereotyping, and you give African, you give black people, you give anyone masks, and you start putting masks on. Now you're viewed as so we were criminals in the beginning of 2020, but now it is okay to look like a criminal.
This unproven drug that the president,
hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't pronounce it.
I think it's hydroxychloroquine.
Something like that.
Yep, hydroxychloroquine.
Okay, Trump continues to push this drug, and I've already seen articles where certain governors and hospitals have told people stop requesting this because the initial tests are showing that people are getting irregular heartbeats and heart issues right off the bat with this pill. And I've said this in another episode that we recorded. You can't sue the president just because he tells you take this drug. You're dumb enough to listen to an idiot president. You take the drug and you end up dying because you took the drug.
Right. Well,
you can't sue him off of that.
People first and foremost need to do the research. You just don't take anything someone tells you.
But people do that for fear.
People do.
They let their fear control them.
Yeah, we are talking about, these are the same people that, if I recall, 4 years ago were passing out on social media, holding their breath and eating Tide Pods and
You know, same people that these conservative radio, conservative channels on YouTube, Laura Ingraham, and these other idiots like her, still trying to push the narrative that, oh, they just want to see President Trump do bad. It's a Democratic hoax, and you have people that are dying. Where's the hoax in that? You had Infowars. That's the show that I want to go at. Infowars. You idiots said that Sandy Hook wasn't real. You had kids dead, man. You had kids dead, and that wasn't good enough for you. There's people that still believe that that was a hoax. Families suffered from that. Yeah, from Sandy Hook. You and I just don't. I for the life of me understand why people would think that that's something to create a hoax over. I always go back to Pizzagate, where that one moron thought that Hillary Clinton was running pedophile rings in a Washington, D.C. pizza parlor. Do you people not use your brains? Where's your common sense at?
Well, like I said, people entertain. There's plenty of conspiracies floating around, but to jump back to the drug that you mentioned, the hydroxychloroquine. I mean, I've read on it and stuff. I mean, could it be something? It could be, but don't go out and take it until yeah, the proper tests have been done, the trials have been done. You know what I mean?
Please, please.
More importantly, like people need to, like I said, focus on yourself. Do some research. Like I said, get some vitamins in you. Zinc.
Start with the basics. Yes. Start with the basics. The basics. The stuff that you can get over the counter. Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D. Get yourself some sunlight. Build
a lot of
things that build.
A lot of articles floating around that zinc. Zinc is a very good supplement to have, and it's supposed to help. I mean, it's all good for you. I mean, you're supposed to have all that anyway. But vitamins, you know what I mean? Get that immune system built up.
And I'm just wondering why so many Republicans, your Lindsey Grahams, your Marco Rubios, they're all quiet now. You know, going back to, we touched on this, Trump saying he had total authority. What if Obama had said he had total authority? What would the Republicans be saying? They would all be crying like
that would have been written.
Yeah. They would have been crying like no way. But they let him get away with it because they fear Trump. They fear Trump. So they act like punks and yes men. You shouldn't even be holding an office.
And you have a bully on the block, you have a bully on the block. So
bullies get ass kicked too.
That is true. You know me personally, I don't like Joe. I don't like Joe.
Oh, you don't like Biden?
Yeah, I don't like Joe. I'm not looking forward to. Yeah, it's not looking promising.
I tell you, I wanted Klobuchar. I really liked her. I liked Warren. I liked Buttigieg. I liked him a lot. Unfortunately, I think there's some truth that America, just like it's racist, doesn't want a gay president. Forget that this man served this country. Forget that this man had smart ideas. I know that there was an issue with him getting along in the African American community, but I think that if he had reached out and we opened our minds and listened, or at least I was able to, you know, did I agree with everything we wanted to do? No, but I don't agree with everything every president wants to do. But was he on target where I think he cared about this country and he could lead us in the right direction? Absolutely. He would have had my vote. I'm not too comfortable with Biden. I think he's too old, just like I think Trump is too old. But I also think that Sanders was too old. But I think if he works with Sanders, I think if he brings in a person of color as a vice president or a woman as vice president, and you bring those people that ran against him as part of his administration, what a hell of a team that would make.
Yeah. I don't see. Like I said, I don't like Joe. I'm not a fan of his. I just wish we had some better candidates.
We did have better candidates, but Joe won.
Yeah, keyword had. Yeah, we kind of cleared the plate.
I mean, who else? I even think Castro was a legitimate candidate who would have been a good president. I just think that we still live in a very racist society, and a lot of people's choices weren't based on the best candidate. Because right now the focus should be right, get Trump out of office. Instead, you have Sanders supporters that just say, "I'm not going to vote." That to me is just about as dumb as you can be by not voting. Because the ultimate goal was to just get Trump out of office, not to make Sanders president, right?
Right.
So I don't care who the running mate is. I'm voting Democratic.
Oh, you're voting Democratic?
I definitely don't want him in office anymore. I don't want an idiot president. He's an idiot.
I don't think no one wants him in anymore.
He is an idiot. That's not a leader. That's not how you lead. What he does is not how you lead a country. Duce, knowing you and the man you are, you would lead this country better than he does. 1,000% better than what he does.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't cut out for the job. They gave anyone the role, you know what I mean? And like I said, and I think this just goes to show anyone can become president now.
Yeah, well, they wanted somebody, hopefully people vote smarter. They wanted somebody that could change the system. And you got to believe, at least I believe, that people that voted Trump in, voted him in because he's a bully. 2, because they were racist and know that he's racist. You had the evangelicals who, after doing much studying on them and reading on them, I realized evangelicals didn't allow their first black couple in to be an evangelical until 1970. They actually supported segregation. They actually supported slavery. So I see why they love Trump so much. I see why they back Trump so much. Because it's more about their agenda than it ever is about their religion. They can look past him being a racist. They have no problem with it being a racist. They have no problem with the fact that he's an adulterer. They have no problem with any of those things as long as he meets their agenda. And he's smart enough to know that.
Right. Well, there's always an agenda going on, bro. And everything and anything. The switch, though, music, wow. Yeah. Online music, man, has been blowing up. As everyone knows, online's the way to go anymore because we can't go and do things. So
now you got online concerts. There's a big one on tonight, isn't there? I believe with a ton of people. I believe it's tonight. If I was kind of groggy when I saw the commercial. So
what a live on the night you saying?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a bunch of performers performing from their home. I mean, top line performers like your Stevie Wonders, your John Legends, and it's supposed to be on TV tonight.
Oh wow, that's interesting. I know Premiere and RZA were on. What was that? Last Friday? That was last week. Yeah, last Friday. Last Saturday.
What did you think?
I mean, it's different. It's entertaining. People are just doing things because they're bored at this point. But I mean, it's interesting, and it's nice, to see, to be reminded, I guess I should say. Like, I was watching that and was being reminded of all the because, the music, we tend to forget as time goes on who did this song, who produced that song. There's just too much. So that's what I liked about it, being reminded of the tracks that he produced, the tracks that Cream produced. I mean, that's what I liked about it.
You got something coming up on the 20th, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a live on 420.
I'm looking forward to that. Plug that. What time is it going down? What's the plan? Have you figured everything out yet?
I'm gonna do it on Instagram Live. I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna hop on around 4. Start the mix. I'm gonna start the mix at 420, of course. But I'm gonna try to do it on Instagram Live because I know people have been having trouble doing it on Facebook. I guess they're kicking them off because of the music. So I'm going to try that and see what we get from there. The mix is going to be played back, so I'm going to have recording everything. So later on in the day, people will be able to play it back. Want to do something different. people wanted me to do the quarantine thing. I wasn't with it at first, but I figured I'm gonna do something different. You know, I gotta be the different one.
Ain't nothing wrong with being different. I'm the same way. What is the quarantine thing? You mean just showing yourself DJing? Is that the quarantine thing?
Yeah, basically that's what like all the DJs been doing right now. Like everyone's just been going live, you know, performing for everyone. I got asked if I was going to do it multiple times. I'm like, didn't really want to at that time. But then I thought about it and I'm like, you know, I would do like a 420. I'm like, I'd do a 421.
How long are you going for? You shooting for an hour, 2 hours?
Probably about an hour. Or until when I get kicked off.
Now, how are you going to challenge yourself? Now, I know when I DJ, I try to do. We all know as DJs when we messed up a mix, right? Like one track was, didn't match too good with the other track as you're blending over. Like, I like to challenge myself and see how long I can go with perfect mixes, perfect blends without messing anything up. And then once I mess up, I stop practicing. So what's going to be your challenge? Or have you figured it out yet?
I think I'm gonna be good. I've been practicing. That was my thing. You know, we were rusty last year, like I said to you.
Hella rusty. I was hella rusty.
And I tell people that all the time, and I mean it's with anything. And doing what we do, the podcast, you do what you do, I do what I do. We don't have the time to be in front of a mixer or a turntable day in and day out.
Right.
So, like I said, and people taking advantage of the time that they have, and especially if you're home, like I am, and you ain't got nothing to do, like, get some practice in, worry about your health, focus on the good things of life, and it'll be back to normal in no time. You'll see. So, bro.
Well, we're going to bring this episode to a close, and this topic is going to continue to go. It's going to continue to go. We got more episodes that we want to bring out, and we're going straight to our YouTube channel. It'll be going straight to the website. We're no longer dealing with TV. Our audio will be going to the podcast spots, and this will allow us to get more and more episodes out, and we're going to be getting out there to the audience face to face and have people come in and interview and have performances as soon as we can.
As soon as we can. Yeah, we'll be back to that. Yeah, we'll see everyone in 2021. It was nice seeing everyone. We'll just cancel the whole year at this point.
Okay, this was us getting it off our chest. Well, we'll be back for episode 5. This is your host, DJ 10th Power from the Lion's Den.
And I'm your host, DJ Duce from my house.
Hit us up at what's the
QI podcast? The QI podcast on Twitter, Instagram,
at gmail.com.
Like I said, the videos are going to start being uploaded to IGTV, YouTube, Spotify, AudioMac. I mean, we're everywhere at this point, and we're only going to continue to be everywhere because there ain't nothing to do. So, podcasts are going to start flying out, people. They're going to start flying out. Watch.
We'll see y'all soon. Peace.